You're toxic. You're manipulative. We're done with you. Those were the last words my daughter Mia screamed at me across that crowded restaurant 24 hours ago. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. She was 34 years old, standing there with her fists clenched, her face red with rage, telling me, her mother, that I was worthless. And you know what I said back to her? Nothing dramatic. No tears, no begging. I simply looked at her, picked up my purse, and said one word. Understood. Right now, as I sit here in my home office with the morning light streaming through my windows, my phone has been buzzing for the past hour. 99 missed calls, all from the same person. Mia, daughter, flashing on my screen over and over again. I pick up this crystal paperweight on my desk, a gift she gave me for Mother's Day 5 years ago when she still pretended to care, and I can't help but smile. Because 24 hours ago, I was just another disposable grandmother. Someone she could discard when I became inconvenient, someone she could blame for all her problems. But something happened after I left that restaurant, something she never saw coming. One phone call. That's all it took. One phone call I made the moment I got home, and now everything has changed. Now she's the one desperate to talk to me. Now she's the one who can't sleep, can't eat, can't function without hearing my voice. The phone buzzed again. Call number 100. I watched her name light up my screen, and for the first time in months, I wasn't rushing to answer. I wasn't worried about what she needed. I wasn't dropping everything to fix her problems. Instead, I'm sitting here, completely calm, completely in control, watching her world fall apart from the comfort of my mahogany desk. But let me tell you how we got here. Let me tell you about the woman who gave up everything for her daughter, only to be thrown away like garbage. And let me tell you about the moment everything changed. If you want to hear how one phone call can flip your entire life upside down, make sure to subscribe because this story gets wild. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. To understand why those 99 missed calls mean so much, you need to know what I sacrificed for that girl. What I gave up. What I lost. I was 28 years old when my husband died in a car accident. 28 with a 6-month-old baby, and no life insurance because we were young and stupid and thought we had forever. Mia was everything I had left of him. Those tiny hands, those big brown eyes. She was my world. So I did what any mother would do. I worked 3 jobs. Night shift at the hospital as a nurse, day shift as a secretary at a law firm. And weekends catering weddings and parties. I slept maybe 4 hours a night, lived on coffee and determination, and never once complained because that's what mothers do. Every morning, I'd come home from my night shift, feed Mia her bottle, change her diaper, and then get ready for my day job. I'd drop her at daycare, work 8 hours, pick her up, come home, make dinner, help with homework as she got older, put her to bed, and then head back to the hospital for another 12-hour shift. I never missed a birthday. Never missed a soccer game. Never missed a parent-teacher conference. When she was 7 and got pneumonia, I sat by her hospital bed for 3 days straight, holding her hand while she fought for her life. The nurses had to bring me food because I wouldn't leave her side. That same year, I got accepted into a nursing program that would have changed our lives. Better pay, better hours, a real career instead of just surviving. But Mia was still weak from being sick, still needed me home, still needed her mother. So I turned it down. I chose her over my dreams, just like I always did. I'll never forget her first dance recital. I came straight from a double shift at the hospital, still in my scrubs, exhausted but determined not to miss it. All the other mothers were dressed up, perfect hair, perfect makeup, and there I was, smelling like antiseptic and looking like I'd been hit by a truck. But when Mia saw me in the audience, her face lit up like Christmas morning. That smile made every sacrifice worth it. That's how it always was. Mia needed, I gave. Mia wanted, I provided. New clothes, dance lessons, summer camp, college tuition. I found a way to make it happen, even when we had nothing. But somewhere along the way, something changed. The grateful little girl who used to hug me and say, "Thank you, Mommy," became a teenager who expected everything and appreciated nothing. When she wanted a car at 16, I worked overtime for months to buy her one. Her response? "It's not the color I wanted." When she got into college, I took out loans I couldn't afford to pay for her dorm, her books, her sorority fees. She called me twice the entire first semester, and both times it was to ask for money. I kept telling myself it was just a phase, that she'd grow out of it, that she'd remember everything I'd done for her once she became a mother herself. I was wrong. When Mia met Ryan, everything got worse. He was this ambitious real estate developer, 6 years older, already successful. And suddenly, I wasn't good enough anymore. My small apartment was embarrassing. My working class background was something to hide. My sacrifices were proof that I'd never been successful. Their wedding cost $40,000. $40,000 I didn't have, but I found a way because that's what mothers do. I worked extra shifts, took on more catering jobs, even sold my mother's jewelry to help pay for her dream wedding. Did she thank me? Did she acknowledge what I'd given up? No. She was too busy apologizing to Ryan's family for my simple lifestyle. Then they needed a house, a starter home, they called it, in a neighborhood where the starter homes cost more than I'd made in 5 years. Who did they come to for the down payment? Me. $25,000 I'd been saving for my own retirement, gone in one afternoon because my daughter needed help. But the real change started when Mia began therapy. Don't get me wrong, I believe in therapy. I think it's wonderful. But her therapist apparently convinced her that all her problems stemmed from having a codependent mother. Suddenly, everything I'd ever done was wrong. Working 3 jobs to support her? I was being a martyr. Sacrificing my career for her health? I was being controlling. Never dating anyone seriously because I was focused on raising her? I was being emotionally dependent on my child. She started hanging out with these other mothers, these wealthy women who'd never worked a day in their lives, who had nannies and housekeepers and trust funds. They filled her head with ideas about boundaries and toxic relationships and generational trauma. And slowly the calls became less frequent. The visits became shorter. The conversations became colder. But I still had hope when the twins were born. Emma and Jake, 6 years old now, are my beautiful grandchildren. Surely becoming a mother herself would help Mia understand what I'd been through. Surely she'd appreciate the sacrifices I'd made. Instead, she started using me as free childcare. "Mom, can you watch the kids? I'm going to a spa weekend with the girls." "Mom, can you pick them up from school? I have a yoga class." "Mom, can you take them for the weekend? Ryan and I need alone time." I said yes every time. Because that's what grandmothers do. Because I loved those children. Because I thought if I just kept giving, kept being useful, kept being available, Mia would remember that she loved me too. But the more I gave, the more entitled she became. The more I sacrificed, the more she expected. And all the while, she was rewriting our history. Telling her friends, telling her therapist, telling herself that I was the problem, that I had held her back, that I had made her weak. "My mother never had boundaries," she'd say. "My mother suffocated me. My mother never let me be independent." Independent? I'd been working 3 jobs since she was 6 months old. I'd been handling everything alone while she slept safely in her crib. I'd been the strong one, the responsible one, the one who never gave up. But somehow, in her mind, I'd become the villain in her story. The final blow came 3 months ago. I was invited to Sunday dinner at their house, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial that I'd helped them buy. The kids were playing in the backyard, and I was helping clean up after dinner when Mia and Ryan asked me to sit down. "We need to talk," Mia said, and something in her voice made my blood run cold. "We've been thinking," Ryan added, "and we believe you'd be happier in a senior community." I stared at them. A senior community? I was 68 years old, not 98. I drove myself everywhere, maintained my own home, and worked part-time at a clinic because I enjoyed it. I was perfectly capable of taking care of myself. "I don't understand," I said. "I'm not ready for assisted living, I'm healthy." I'm independent. It's not about being ready, Mia said, not meeting my eyes. It's about what's best for everyone. The kids need stability. You're overwhelming them. Overwhelming them? I was the one who picked them up from school when she was too busy. I was the one who took them to doctor's appointments when she couldn't be bothered. I was the one who remembered their birthdays and their favorite foods and their bedtime stories. You never had boundaries, Mom, Mia continued. You suffocated me growing up, and now you're doing the same thing to Emma and Jake. They need space to develop their own relationships with us. The words hit me like a physical blow. Suffocated her? I'd worked myself to the bone to give her everything she wanted. I'd sacrificed my health, my career, my own happiness to make sure she had every opportunity. Maybe, Ryan said with a smirk, you could find a nice widower to take care of you. Someone with means. You're still attractive for your age. We've decided to cut ties with you, my daughter said. That's when I knew. This wasn't about the children's stability. This wasn't about boundaries or independence. This was about them wanting me gone. They wanted me out of their lives, so they wouldn't have to feel obligated to care for me as I aged. They wanted me to become someone else's problem. Mia actually nodded in agreement. My own daughter, the child I'd raised alone, the girl I'd sacrificed everything for, was agreeing that I should go find some man to take care of me. I stood up slowly, picked up my purse, and looked at both of them. I see, I said quietly. I understand now. I walked to the backyard where Emma and Jake were playing, kissed them both goodbye, and told them I loved them. They hugged me tight, innocent and beautiful, having no idea this might be the last time they saw their grandmother. Then I left. No arguing, no tears, no begging them to reconsider. Because suddenly, after 40 years of giving everything I had, I finally understood who my daughter really was. And more importantly, I understood who I was going to become. When I got home from that humiliating dinner, after being told to find a rich man to take care of me, I sat in my small apartment and stared at the phone for a long time. Then I picked it up and dialed a number I knew by heart. Harrison and Associates Law Firm, this is Patricia speaking. Patricia, this is Charlotte Harris. I need to speak with Mr. Stevens immediately. Tell him it's about Walter Harrison's estate. Of course, Mrs. Harris. Please hold on. You see, for the past 2 years I'd been keeping a secret. Remember when I told you I'd been working part-time at a clinic? That wasn't entirely true. I'd been the private nurse for a man named Walter Harrison. He was 86 years old, had no family, and was dying of cancer. His previous nurses couldn't handle him. He was difficult, demanding, impossible to please. But I understood Walter. Underneath all that grumpiness was a man who was scared and alone, just like I'd been so many times in my life. So I didn't just give him his medications and check his vitals. I listened to his stories about building his business empire from nothing. I played chess with him. I made him laugh. Walter had started with a single food truck in 1965 and built it into a restaurant chain worth millions. He owned properties across 3 states, had investments in everything from tech stocks to oil wells. But he had no one to leave it to. The day before he died, Walter called me into his study. His hands were shaking as he handed me a folder. Charlotte, he said, you're the only person who's ever taken care of me without wanting something in return. I'm making you my heir. I thought he was confused from the pain medication. $12 million? Business partnerships? Real estate holdings? It was impossible. People like me didn't inherit fortunes. People like me worked 3 jobs and saved for 20 years just to help with a wedding. But it was real. Every single penny of it. When Walter died 6 months earlier, his lawyer had explained the inheritance. But there was one condition I hadn't acted on yet. One final provision in Walter's will that he'd insisted on, but I'd been too scared to use. Charlotte, Mr. Stevens said when he came on the line, how are you holding up? I'm ready, I said simply. I'm ready to activate the final clause. There was a pause. Are you certain? Once we do this, there's no going back. The trust will be irrevocable. I'm certain. And you want to proceed with the full $12 million transfer? Every penny. including the business holdings, everything, and the property transfers, all of it. Mr. Stevens was quiet for a moment. Charlotte, Walter always said you were the strongest person he'd ever met. He said when you were ready to truly own your power, you'd know exactly what to do with it. I know what to do with it now. I'll have all the paperwork ready by tomorrow morning. The lake house deed, the foundation documents, the investment transfers, everything will be in your name within 48 hours. Thank you, Charlotte. Walter would be proud. That was the phone call. 24 hours later, I wasn't just Charlotte Harris, the woman who'd been thrown away by her daughter. I was Charlotte Harrison, millionaire, philanthropist, property owner, and founder of the Second Chance Foundation. The woman who'd been told to find a rich man to take care of her had become the rich woman who didn't need anyone to take care of her. That night, after I made the call that would change everything, I made another decision. I stopped. I stopped calling. I stopped texting. I stopped showing up uninvited. I stopped being the mother who chased after her ungrateful daughter. For the first time in 34 years, I gave Mia exactly what she said she wanted: complete freedom from me. And you know what? She was thrilled. Within a week, she was posting on social media about finally setting healthy boundaries and protecting her family from toxic relationships. She shared articles about cutting off manipulative parents and quoted her therapist about choosing peace over people-pleasing. My friends kept asking why I wasn't seeing the grandchildren anymore. I just smiled and said, Mia was busy. I didn't tell them I'd been discarded like last week's garbage. I didn't tell them their golden girl had shown her true colors. While Mia was posting about her toxic mother on Facebook, I was meeting with financial advisors. While she was celebrating her newfound freedom, I was learning about investment portfolios and business management. While she was explaining to her friends why she'd cut me off, I was buying a lakefront property with cash. I started taking business classes. Real ones, at the university I'd never been able to afford when I was young. I learned about wealth management and philanthropy. I discovered I had a mind for numbers and strategy that had been wasted on survival for too many years. Then I did something that felt incredible. I started a foundation for single mothers. Women like I'd been, working multiple jobs, sacrificing everything for their children, never getting help from anyone. I called it the Second Chance Foundation, and I funded it with $1 million of Walter's money. 3 months passed. 3 months of silence from Mia, which suited me just fine. I was too busy rebuilding my life to worry about her anymore. Then came the night that changed everything forever. The Children's Hospital Foundation was hosting their annual charity gala, and as a major donor, I'd been invited to attend. I bought a beautiful black dress, had my hair done professionally, and felt more confident than I had in years. I had no idea Mia would be there. Ryan had apparently started donating to children's charities to network with wealthy clients, and they'd bought a table at the event. When I walked into that ballroom, I felt like a different person. The scared, overworked single mother was gone. The disposable grandmother they'd tried to throw away was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, who commanded respect, who had the power to change lives. And then I saw her. Mia, sitting at a table near the front, laughing with Ryan and his business associates. She looked beautiful, of course. She always did. But there was something brittle about her smile, something desperate in the way she kept checking her phone. The moment she saw me, her face went white. I watched her grab Ryan's arm and whisper something urgently in his ear. I saw him turn to look at me, confusion written all over his face. But I didn't care about their shock. I was here for the children who needed help, for the cause I believed in. I was here as Charlotte Harrison, philanthropist and foundation founder. When they announced the major donors, my name was called. Charlotte Harrison, whose Second Chance Foundation has already helped over 200 single mothers gain financial independence. The applause was genuine, warm, respectful. People at nearby tables turned to smile at me. A photographer took my picture. For the first time in my life, I was being recognized not as someone's mother or someone's servant, but as myself. I could see Mia's table from where I stood. Her mouth was hanging open. Ryan looked like he'd seen a ghost. And her friends, those wealthy, judgmental women who'd filled her head with poison about me, they were all staring. "That's your mother?" I heard one of them whisper. "She's incredible. Why didn't you tell us she was a philanthropist?" Mia's face turned red. She mumbled something I couldn't hear, but I could see the panic in her eyes. 20 minutes later, I was in the ladies' break room when she cornered me. For a moment we just stared at each other in the mirror. She looked older, more tired than I remembered. Success hadn't been kind to her. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. I finished washing my hands and turned to face her calmly. "I was invited." "Invited? By who? How do you even know about this event?" "I'm a donor, Mia. A major donor." She laughed, but it was a harsh, bitter sound. "A donor? With what money? You live in that tiny apartment and work at a clinic." "Actually, I live in a beautiful lake house now, and I run a foundation that's changing lives." "But you wouldn't know that, would you? You cut ties, remember?" The color drained from her face. "Where did you get the money, Mom? What did you do?" "I earned it," I said simply, "by being kind to someone who appreciated kindness, by showing up every day even when it was hard, by being loyal and trustworthy and genuine, qualities you might not recognize." "You're embarrassing me," she hissed. "People are going to think I'm a terrible daughter. They're going to ask why I never mentioned your success." I looked at my daughter, this beautiful, selfish woman I'd raised, and felt something shift inside me. The last piece of hope I'd been carrying around finally crumbled into dust. "You are a terrible daughter," I said quietly. "And now everyone's going to know it." If you're enjoying this story of ultimate revenge, make sure you subscribe because what happens next will blow your mind. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had someone completely underestimate what you're capable of? Because Mia's about to learn that throwing away the wrong person can cost you everything. I walked out of that bathroom and back into my new life, leaving my daughter standing there with the ruins of everything she thought she knew about me. But the night wasn't over. Oh no, not even close. Mia followed me back to my table, her face a mask of barely controlled panic. She'd spent months telling everyone who would listen that I was a burden, a toxic influence, a pathetic woman with nothing to offer. And now here I was, being photographed with CEOs and celebrated for my philanthropy. She grabbed my arm as I sat down. "We need to talk. Now." "I don't think we do," I said, not even looking at her. "You made your feelings quite clear 3 months ago." "Where did this money come from?" she whispered urgently. Did you marry someone? Did you take out loans? Because if you're trying to impress people with money you don't have." I turned to face her then, and she must have seen something in my eyes that made her step back. "I inherited $12 million from Walter Harrison, the man I nursed for 2 years while you were busy posting on social media about setting boundaries." Her mouth fell open. 12 million? Plus his business holdings, plus his real estate portfolio, plus his investment accounts. I smiled at her shock. "You see, Mia, while you were telling your therapist that I was codependent and manipulative, I was actually taking care of someone who appreciated genuine kindness. Someone who saw my worth when his own daughter couldn't." "His daughter couldn't," she repeated weakly. "You threw me away, Mia. You told me to find a rich man to take care of me, remember? Well, congratulations. I found one. The only problem is he's dead, and he left everything to me." She sank into the chair next to me, her face white as paper. But you never said anything. You never told me about him. You never..." "Why would I? You made it very clear that my life was none of your business, that I was overwhelming you, that you needed space from your toxic mother." "I didn't mean..." she started, but I held up my hand. "Oh, but you did mean it. In fact, let me tell you what else I've done with my newfound freedom." I leaned forward, my voice calm and steady. "I've rewritten my will. Every single penny goes to the Second Chance Foundation. The lake house, the investments, the business shares, all of it will help women who've been thrown away by their ungrateful children. Her face went from white to gray. You can't do that. What about Emma and Jake? What about me? I'm your daughter. Are you? I asked. Because daughters don't suggest their mothers prostitute themselves to rich widowers. Daughters don't throw their mothers away when they become inconvenient. Daughters don't rewrite history to make themselves the victim of the woman who sacrificed everything for them. Mom, please, I made a mistake. Oh, you made more than a mistake, Mia. You made a series of calculated decisions, and I documented every single one of them. The blood drained from her face. What do you mean, documented? I mean, I have recordings of every conversation where you manipulated me. I have screenshots of every cruel text message. I have security footage from your house showing you throwing me out after I helped raise your children for 6 years. I pulled out my phone and showed her a folder labeled evidence. I even have recordings of you telling your friends that I was a burden you needed to get rid of. Her hands were shaking now. You recorded me? I'm 68 years old, Mia, not stupid. After months of being gaslit and manipulated, I started protecting myself. And it's a good thing I did, because I now have proof of exactly who you are. You can't, you wouldn't. I could destroy your reputation with a single phone call, I said calmly. One post on social media, showing the real Mia. The woman who threw away her mother after using her for 40 years. How do you think Ryan's business partners would react? How do you think your children's friends' parents would feel? How do you think your precious social circle would treat you if they knew the truth? She started crying then. Ugly, desperate tears. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was confused. I was listening to the wrong people. You were showing me who you really are, I said. And sorry isn't enough. Sorry doesn't erase 40 years of taking everything I had to give. Sorry, don't bring back the grandmother you stole from Emma and Jake. Sorry doesn't fix the damage you've done. Please, she begged. Please, I'll do anything. I'll make it right. I'll tell everyone I was wrong. You'll what? Pretend to love me until I die so you can inherit my money? Use me as free childcare again, while treating me like garbage? No thank you, Mia. I've learned my lesson. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks since Mia's world came crashing down around her. 3 weeks since she realized that the mother she'd discarded like trash was actually worth more than she'd ever dreamed. And those 99 missed calls I mentioned at the beginning? That's just from today. Yesterday it was 87. The day before, 92. She's been calling, texting, emailing, even showing up at my old apartment before she realized I'd moved. Her social media went from inspirational quotes about setting boundaries to desperate posts about family reconciliation. Her friends started asking uncomfortable questions. Why was her mother, the supposed burden, being featured in charity magazines? Why was the woman she'd called toxic being celebrated as a philanthropist? Meanwhile, I've been living my best life. I wake up in my lake house to the sound of birds and water lapping against the shore. I have coffee on my deck while reading thank you letters from single mothers whose lives my foundation has changed. I attend board meetings where my opinion matters, where people listen to what I have to say. The twins keep asking Ryan why they can't see Grandma anymore. He's been telling them I'm busy, but 6-year-olds are smarter than adults give them credit for. They know something's wrong. They know their mother did something bad. And Ryan? Oh, Ryan's furious. He's been doing the math, you see. $12 million that could have been his someday. A mother-in-law he helped discard who turned out to be worth more than his entire real estate portfolio. He's been pressuring Mia to fix things, to get back in my good graces, to repair the relationship he helped destroy. But I made one exception to my complete cutoff from their family. I set up college funds for Emma and Jake, $2 million each, managed by trustees, untouchable by their parents. They'll have every opportunity I never had, every chance Mia threw away. But Mia and Ryan will never see a penny of it. I sent Mia one final letter, just one. It said, I loved you enough to give you everything. You loved me enough to throw it all away. The children will be provided for, but you made your choice. Now live with it. Today, as I sit here listening to my phone buzz with her desperate attempts to reach me, I'm surrounded by photos of my real family. Pictures of Maria, the single mother whose nursing school tuition my foundation paid for. Photos of Jennifer, who started her own bakery with our small business grant. Images of little David, whose medical bills we covered when his mother couldn't afford them. These are the people who appreciate kindness. These are the people who understand the value of sacrifice. These are the people who deserve my love and my resources. I spent 40 years being the mother Mia needed. Working 3 jobs, sacrificing my dreams, giving up everything so she could have a better life. But she didn't want a better life. She wanted an easier one. And she was willing to throw away the person who made it possible. Now I'm being the woman I needed all along. Strong, independent, valued for who I am, rather than what I can provide. I have meaningful work, genuine relationships, and the knowledge that I'm making a real difference in the world. The phone rings again. Mia's name lights up the screen for the 100th time today. I look at it, smile, and let it go to voicemail, just like I did with the other 99 calls. I walk out to my garden, where I'm growing tomatoes and roses and herbs for my kitchen. The sun is setting over the lake, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. I can hear children laughing at the beach down the shore, families enjoying time together, parents who appreciate what they have. And for the first time in my life, I belong to myself. I answer to myself. I live for myself and for the people who truly value what I have to offer. Love isn't about what you can take from someone, it's about what you can give without losing yourself in the process. I gave Mia everything, and in return, she gave me the greatest gift of all. She showed me I was worth more than being anyone's doormat. Some people spend their whole lives looking for their happy ending. I found mine at 68 years old, in a lake house bought with money earned through genuine kindness, surrounded by people who understand that love is about giving, not taking. Your worth isn't determined by how much you're willing to sacrifice. Your value isn't measured by how much you're willing to tolerate. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say to someone who doesn't appreciate you is simply, understood. My phone buzzed again. Call number 101. I turned it off and went inside to make dinner. Just for me, because I finally had enough. And if you've made it this far in my story, if you understand that sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away, then please subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there is another mother, another father, another person who's being taken for granted by someone they love. Also, don't forget to comment your thoughts about this story below. I love hearing from viewers all around the world. Your story matters, your worth matters. And sometimes the most powerful word you can say to someone who doesn't appreciate you is simply, understood. See you in the next video.